SPA Day. And to make things even more exciting, we have the pleasure of hearing from our special guests, Colin McKenzie and Mr. John Yarrington, speaking about this month's opera show. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. But before we jump into all excitement, here's a quick message from our sponsors.
Sponsorship for Southern Miss Today comes from Mississippi Beverages. Mississippi Beverages provides water, water coolers, and coffee service throughout South Mississippi. Take half of your weight in pounds. That's how many ounces of water you need a day. Mississippi Beverages can help you reach that goal by delivering fresh water to your door. To get more information or to set up a cooler and water delivery, you can call Mississippi Beverages at 601-271-2420, or you can find them online.
What is dedication?
My daughter is biological and my son is adopted. I love them both so much. From the morning when you wake up to putting them to bed at night and every moment in between. I think a parent's job is to protect our children, but also prepare them for the world so they become good, kind human beings.
That's dedication.
Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Welcome back, folks. Here's a look into our news for today. For USM campus news, Narcan is now available in all USM resident halls. Colleges in the United States, including the USM campus, are taking steps to help prevent the overdoses. USM has installed emergency kits with Narcan in all of their dorms. These kits have 2 doses of Narcan, a CPR mask, and instructions. USM is training staff, including the student resident assistants, on how to use them. They hope these kits won't have to be used often, but they do want to be prepared just in case. For Hattiesburg news, teen faces felony charges after car chase damaged Hattiesburg apartments. A Hattiesburg teenager is in trouble after a car chase ended in disaster at Campus Trail Apartments around 1 a.m. The chase began when the teen stole a car from the reserve at Park Place and reached speeds over 90 miles per hour. During the chase, the teen crashed the stolen vehicle into 2 apartment units. Luckily, no one was injured, but the apartment damage was significant. The teenager has been charged with felony fleeing and possession of stolen property and is set to appear in court on Monday. The Hattiesburg Police Department will handle all the death charges. Mississippi news, Mississippi sees a decrease in deaths from drug overdose. In Mississippi, there's been an 8.7% reduction in deaths from a drug overdose during the first 3 months of 2023 compared to the same period last year. This positive change flowed following a troubling trend of rising overdose fatalities in the state. Colonel Stephen Maxwell from the Mississippi Bureau of Narcotics credits this decrease to the wider availability of the opioid reverse drug Naloxone, also known as Narcan, and improved training for first responders. Maxwell also highlighted the importance of public awareness regarding the dangers of fentanyl. Efforts are being made to make Narcan more accessible, especially on college campuses where deaths from overdose have been a concern. The University of Mississippi and the University of Southern Mississippi are taking steps to prevent accidental overdoses by making Narcan available on their campuses. For international news, White House issues AI, Executive Order for National Security. President Biden has assigned a significant executive order to protect Americans from potential AI risk. The order requires AI developers to share the safety test results, known as red team testing, with the federal government. It is also mandated that companies developing AI models with serious national security risks must notify the government during model training. The National Institute of Standards and Technology will set rigorous standards for red team testing, ensuring AI system safety before public release. The Department of Homeland Security will apply these standards to critical infrastructure sectors and establish the AI Safety and Security Board. The Departments of Energy and Homeland Security will address AI threats to critical infrastructure and cybersecurity risk. The executive order also addresses concerns about AI's impact on the labor market and aims to support workers facing disruptions caused by AI. This has been your news update from Southern Miss Today. Next, we'll have the latest in sports and weather, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Sponsorship comes from American Graphics. Located at 8 Commercial Warehouse Drive in Hattiesburg, American Graphics provides custom screen printing and embroidery. They can be reached by phone at 601-602-2277, and the website is goamericangraphics.com. American Graphics, printing at its finest. Sponsorship for Southern Miss Today comes from Mississippi Beverages. Mississippi Beverages provides water, water coolers, and coffee service throughout South Mississippi. Take half of your weight in pounds. That's how many ounces of water you need a day. Mississippi Beverages can help you reach that goal by delivering fresh water to your door. To get more information or to set up a cooler and water delivery, you can call Mississippi Beverages at 601-271-2420, or you can find them online.
Welcome back with our action-packed sports segment. Let's dive into the latest scores, highlights, and sports. Get your jerseys on because it's game time. The Southern Miss soccer team faced off against Georgia State in round one of the Sun Belt Conference tournament, ending in a 1-0 defeat for the Golden Eagles. Despite a promising start and several close attempts to score, it was Georgia State's Olivia Shaw who secured the winning goal in the 74th minute of a cross from Elena Diaz. The game's early moments saw the Golden Eagles dominating possession with Chloe Taylor and Shaylin Quick making notable attempts at the goal, all of which were skillfully denied by the Georgia State keeper. Southern Miss limited Georgia State opportunities while producing a series of shots, maintaining a 3-0 lead in the shot count by the 30th minute. Adara Nakano, ambitious shot in the 39th minute, narrowly missed the target, leaving the first half deadlock at 0-0. Despite their efforts, the Golden Eagles struggled to convert their shots into goal. This defeat marked the fourth consecutive postseason elimination for the Southern Miss, being held scoreless. Reflecting on the 2023 season, the Golden Eagles conducted a 6-9-3 overall record and a 3-4-3 standing in conference play. Junior Adira Nakano emerged as a key offense force, tallying 7 goals, 4 assists, and 18 points, contributing 3 game-winning goals and earning recognition as the SBC Offensive Player of the Week once during the year. This has been your sports segment. Head over to southernmiss.com to keep up with all the Golden Eagle sport activities. As for our weather today, this morning lows were around 10 degrees cooler than yesterday's, down to the mid-30s on the low end, but will still fall even further tomorrow, bringing our first freeze warning for a while. This afternoon will be clear, dry, sunny, and still cool with a high near 58. That's a little cooler than yesterday and without the cloudy start. Winds will weaken to 5 to 10 miles per hour from yesterday's 10 to 15 miles per hour, but remain northerly, which is why we still have that one cooler low left before the warm trend that will have us back into the 80s by the time weekend begins. For tomorrow morning, we'll have freeze conditions in place. We aren't quite wrapping pipe levels, but we'll definitely be want to cover or bring any particular sensitive plants in. Lows will fall a couple of degrees below freezing for a few hours, leading to more frost than anything else. It's a good reminder colder and colder air is on the way. This has been your weather forecast for this week. And up next, we have Mississippi Moments produced by the Center for Oral History and Cultural Heritage with Sydney Land recalling patrolling the Saigon River. Check it out.
This is Mississippi Moments, produced by the Center for Oral History and Cultural Heritage at the University of Southern Mississippi and supported by the Mississippi Humanities Council. I'm Bill Ellison. Patrolling the Saigon River during the Vietnam War meant sleeping in shifts in the small fiberglass PBRs. Sydney Land explains why a full moon could be a patrol boat's worst nightmare.
We tied up one night in front of an open field and about 10 feet from the riverbank. And I was very dissatisfied with the spot. Full moon, and that moon was in the background in this open field, and we were laying in wait there, but anybody could see us. About 45 minutes later, I saw a guy creeping, kind of duck walking, towards the cover boat. And so I grabbed my M16 and shot at him and started hollering VC. And everybody looked up and looked over at the tree line. And the boat captain pointed over there, and we fired into the tree line, and we had a real quick 2-3 minute firefight. We had 3 wounded. I was one of them, but I was just wounded, minor. And the helicopter pilot came in. We were on the ground probably less than a minute, and away we went.
To hear more, visit MississippiMoments.org or just like us on Facebook. Mississippi Moments is supported by the Mississippi Humanities Council. The humanities are for everyone.
That was your Mississippi Moments for today. Coming up, we have the pleasure of hearing from guests Colin McKenzie and Mr. John Yarrington speaking about this month's opera show, happening this Thursday. So stick with us while we hear a message from our sponsors.
Sponsorship for Southern Miss Today comes from Mississippi Beverages. Mississippi Beverages provides water, water coolers, and coffee service throughout South Mississippi. Take half of your weight in pounds. That's how many ounces of water you need a day. Mr. Sippy Beverages can help you reach that goal by delivering fresh water to your door. To get more information or to set up a cooler and water delivery, you can call Mr. Sippy Beverages at 601-271-2420, or you can find them online.
Calling all families.
Calling all children. And kids of all ages.
Are you looking for a variety of music the whole family can listen to?
Yeah!
Then look no further. We have traditional songs, international tunes, and fresh new beats.
Join us every Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m.
right here on Southern Miss Radio
for the Hickory Dickory Dock Show. Catch you Saturday. Catch you then.
Now, please give a warm Golden Eagle welcome to our guests, Colin McKenzie and Mr. John Yarrington. How are y'all both today?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm great. So tell me about your opera show coming up.
Well, on Thursday at 7:30 in the Mononi Performing Arts Center, we'll present a Christmas masterpiece and a Christmas favorite, Amal and the Night Visitors. Mm-hmm. It's one of the most performed operas in the English language, and we're really thrilled to get to present it here.
So is the plot line, is it kind of more based biblically, or is it just...
It is.
Okay.
The composer, Menotti, took inspiration from a painting of the three wise men, the Magi, coming to visit the baby Jesus and present their gifts. And it centers around their visit. I had a friend, as speaks to the title of the piece, I had a friend ask me about it because when he first heard the name Amal and the Night Visitors, he thought it was going to be about aliens.
What?
And I had to burst his bubble and say, no, not that kind of night visitors. The night visitors are the three wise men on their way following the Star of Bethlehem, trying to find the baby Jesus. So no aliens in this one, but we do have some wise men and some shepherds.
Okay, well, speaking of Amal, was he ever noted in the Bible, or how did this story come about?
No, he's a piece of fiction.
Okay,
the composer,
so like
the composer Menotti also wrote the libretto. He wrote the text and the poetry that's involved, and created this story about a mother and her son who has a lame leg and their life together. And the first part of the opera deals with that and sets the scene of their life together. And then they're visited by the wise men and bring in some shepherds. There's a lot of wonderful things involved there, and I don't want to give too much away about what happens, but yeah, Amal and his mother were a fictional part of the story.
It's really a fabulous story, and was premiered in 1951 on NBC when they would air live opera on television. And so Christmas
Do they not do
Eve.
that anymore?
No,
crazy.
not really. Christmas Eve 1951 is when it was premiered, and you can still see the broadcast of it. It's archived, and Menotti comes out and introduces it and talks about it. And an interesting point of fact about Giancarlo Menotti. He taught composition at the Curtis Institute for a long time, same time as Samuel Barber was teaching at the Curtis. And our resident composer here, Luigi Zandinelli, who's been on our faculty for a very long time, is one of Menotti's last living students. He studied with Giancarlo Menotti at the time that he was writing this piece. So he remembers and has told some stories about hearing him, Menotti, in his studio, writing some of the arias and that sort of thing from this work. It's so there's, in addition to it being a terrific work on its own merit, there's a little bit of a connection here between the composer and our institution. So,
Well, let's get into like the talents of this play. How did all of this oh my gosh, my brain went blank.
No, so opera at any place is a really wonderful thing to undertake, right?
Right.
And Dr. Yarrington can talk maybe a little bit more in specific about, the audition process and how the students came into all of that. But what I can say is that opera at any place, no matter, is sort of the ultimate amalgamation of all areas of the arts that have to come together to make the product happen, right? Music, theater, visual arts, with stage design and all of this sort of thing, all of the technical aspects of it. So it's this terrific. There's dance involved as well, so all of the artistic aspects of come together into one performance space, and that only happens with opera, really, and so that is one of the reasons that it's incredibly important and special that a place do it and put opera on, and that we support it, because it really is a culminating sort of thing for a unit. But I think Dr. Yarrington could probably talk more specifically about, the process around auditions and how the students managed all of that. So.
Yeah, at the end of the spring, we had students audition. We often do live auditions, but in this case, we had them submit recordings of themselves. And we went through those, and as a voice faculty together, and with Dr. McKenzie, looked at who would fit best in the different roles, and where the most growth potential was, because we not only value presenting works of a high level, but also providing an educational experience for our students, right? So this is a chance for them to grow. What could they grow into? What could they learn from being in this particular role? Presenting this particular thing on the stage. And so we made those decisions, and we sent out the casting, and we asked everyone who was cast to come back the week before classes started for opera boot camp, we called it. And that involved some long days, some half days of musical rehearsal with Dr. McKenzie, making sure people were prepared, and they had to show up with their roles learned and prepare them over the summer. And music rehearsals began and have continued right up until now. It's a tremendous investment of time and energy for these singers to learn their roles, memorize them, create a character, bring all that together. And it takes a lot of sacrifice on their part to make that happen. But it also creates an opportunity for them to grow that nothing else does. Vocally, there's nothing quite like having to stand on a stage and sing over an orchestra. And
is there not a mic in here,
no,
or are they just like doing it? Ooh.
Not mic'd. Yeah, it's all acoustic, and that's one of the things that's magic about opera, is that it's an acoustic art form almost exclusively. And that's part of what makes it so stirring as an audience member. If you've never heard someone sing in a hall acoustically, it is a unique and thrilling and visceral sort of experience. In fact, that's the whole reason I became interested in it, was hearing a man stand on a stage and sing so high and so loud that it sounded physically impossible to me, and it just blew my mind. And I've been a sort of junkie for it ever since. I love singing, I love opera, and I think people will be surprised who have never had that kind of experience of hearing an acoustic orchestra, acoustic singing in a space. There's really nothing else quite like it. So we've set up all of these conditions. We had auditions, we've had these rehearsals, and we're ready to put on a great show Thursday at 7:30.
I'm excited. I bet y'all are excited.
And I'll say as well that I think Southern Miss is uniquely situated to be able to put on a production such as this, right? One of only a few handfuls of institutions in the country that is fully accredited in all 4 major areas of the arts, right? So we are able to put on a large-scale opera production like this, using our student orchestra with students on the stage and with students helping with technical aspects of it and all of that. You would be hard-pressed to find another institution regionally that is able to do that.
Right.
And certainly we're among sort of rarefied air in the sphere of schools of music across the country that can put on fully kind of student performed and executed productions. We have faculty members who are working with these students. Dr. Yarrington does such a capable job with them, and I'm serving as the music director and conducting the orchestra. But I mean, the students are doing the lift on this, and I couldn't be more proud of them. They are true to form for Southern Miss students. They're just wonderful, you know. And I'm partial because I'm the director of the music school. I think the music school students are the best students around, you know. But they've really done the lift on it, and that's one of the reasons I think it's so important for the Southern Miss community to come and see it and watch it and see what is possible for students to do, right?
Get them out there.
That's right.
It's an interesting time culturally that we're in. I suppose that's always true, right? But if you think back 1951 when this premiered, Menotti had an opera the previous year that won the Pulitzer Prize, but its run was on Broadway. It wasn't at the Metropolitan Opera. It wasn't at a regular opera house. It ran for hundreds of performances on Broadway, and several of his did. That's kind of a really unusual thought to us now. NBC had an orchestra and broadcast symphonic works, and this opera was its first live opera broadcast. You know, culturally, such a different time than now. I suppose the closest thing were those live musical broadcasts that we've had, you know, over the past few years. But
varying success.
Yeah, live theater is challenging, but it really is not just stepping back in time like going into a museum to come and see a piece like this, but also seeing that it's still alive and thriving. It's 400 years on, opera's still growing great. People have predicted the death of theater forever. They've predicted the death of opera as long as it's existed. But it's alive and well here at Southern Miss, and is an experience like no other.
Right. So speaking of live events, will it be like broadcasted live on these days, or?
We have done that in the past. In fact, during COVID, we presented an opera that was only live streamed with no live audience. And then the year following, we did one at Spirit Park so that people didn't have to wear masks, and that was a lot of fun. But this opera in particular, there is no live stream. If you want to see it, you've got to come see it live. And I can't think of a better way to experience it, frankly, than in the space, in the hall.
Like just hear the instrumentals, the vocal cords, like vibrating your ears live.
Right.
Just you feeling that, and you like get the expression of it.
That's right.
That's how it was intended to be experienced. You know?
Yeah.
And that's how it should be.
I feel like behind the screen will probably hinder the personal in-person experience overall. So, with the opera, not again. The opera experience overall, you say it took all semester to work on it.
That's right. Our students, you know, as Dr. Yarrington mentioned, they auditioned in late spring, early summer, and then we came together starting in August. And opera is a class, just like any other class for which you might register here on campus. And so we have a regular meeting pattern and have met regularly since the beginning of the term. We got here a week early before that to do some work in advance. And then here in the last week or so added some extra rehearsals in because there's not a time where the orchestra and the chorus and the soloists all are together. So we add some times in the evening, right?
Get that practice in.
To get all of our logistics worked out and make sure that it's all working. And the orchestra has been rehearsing the music only for a couple of weeks because this is part of the symphony orchestra's regular season. And so the orchestra season stretches all year long rather. And this is part of that. And so we've been rehearsing that for a couple of weeks. And so putting it all together, you know, with the technical facets of it, with the staging, and with the orchestra and chorus and soloists has been the work that we've been doing for the last, I guess, week or so, right? And
it gets pretty intense.
And it can be intense, right? It can be intense because
I bet.
Because you've got a finite amount of time there here at the end before we've got to hit the go button, you know. And but it is a semester-long project.
And you know, this is a relatively short opera. Runtime is like 55 minutes or an hour or something like that.
That is relatively short.
Right.
Well, that's what NBC asked for, so that's what he wrote.
Exactly, right? Yes, when it was done for television, right? So, But I think this is a benefit, actually, especially for people who don't have a lot of experience with opera. Maybe they've never seen an opera before. I might be interested. Well, this is a very low-risk investment, you know, and as far as that's concerned. Show up for an hour. Everybody has an extra hour, you know, in the week to come on and, I mean, maybe everybody does. I don't know, but to come and check out the opera. But all of that being said, you know, even though this is an hour-long opera, the intensity of the rehearsal situation to make sure that it's all right is still there. It's still a thing, you know. And that's also something that's really been a lot of fun for me because I don't regularly conduct the opera. And I'm conducting it this year. And so it's been a real pleasure for me to see the students function in that environment, to work with colleagues like Dr. Yarrington on these kinds of projects, you know. Music by its nature is such a collaborative discipline, right? But so often we end up in our offices working away and toiling away at our things, so that when we have an opportunity as colleagues to work together on a project like this, it makes it really fun and exciting, especially when you see the students that we share doing as well as they're doing, you know.
That's what I love about opera, the collaboration, the fact that we have dancers from our dance school.
Correct.
We have the symphony orchestra. We have our voice students. We have students assistant directing and stage managing. We're running the super titles. It's really fun to make all of that come together and to give people those opportunities. And it always becomes more than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
That's part of the magic.
Absolutely. And I do think that's important to note that the dancers for this production are coming from our School of Performing and Visual Arts. And in fact, one of the dancers is the school director for the School of Performing and Visual Arts. And we have another faculty member, a new faculty member, Aaron, who is
Shout out to Aaron.
Also one of the dancers. And that just illustrates what a collaborative and community effort it is to put together something like this, and also illustrates why it's important for people to come out and support it and appreciate it, right? Because there are very few things like this that happen across disciplines that connect so many different units together in one effort.
So you said this event is open to students, you know, free ID, free admissions.
That's
for
correct.
students?
It takes place Thursday, tomorrow night, 7:30 at the Mononi Performing Arts Center, and then again,
bring your ID.
and then again Sunday at 2:00. So there's a Sunday matinee at 2 p.m. and it is free for all students.
Just bring your student ID.
How about for the public, if they want to
It's
come out?
I believe $20. Public
$20.
admission.
So public people, if y'all want to come out, bring your $20 to come to the show.
And compared to what you would pay in other places to see a production like that, that's a steal, not
Right.
a deal,
It
as
really
they say,
is.
right?
But thank you so much, Mr. McKenzie and Mr. Yarrington, for this wonderful information about this upcoming event. And coming up, we have our news wrap with Richard Sullivan reporting on the 2023 MSPA Day.
The Mississippi Scholastic Press Association event was held this year at the University of Southern Mississippi. I had the opportunity to speak with the director of the School of Media and Communication, Dr. Ed Simpson, about what happens behind the scenes to make this event possible.
So the process for organizing and managing this convention begins months in advance. I know the students probably don't see all of that, but everything from arranging for the caterers to deliver the food to setting up the rooms, the chairs, the tables, the tablecloths, to making sure that all the technology in the session rooms work, to making sure that you as students know when and where and how to get here.
Hi, I'm Richard Sullivan here at the Thad Cochran Center on the University of Southern Miss's campus. Today is MSPA Day. MSPA stands for the Mississippi Scholastic Press Association. Here, hundreds of students came out to further their passion in media. I had the chance to speak with a few of the students about their thoughts and how they found it important.
I really like the sessions and going to the interviewing session. It gets to help learning a little bit more about how to interview, and the sessions really help.
Representation and having all of the tools that I need to be able to make a good yearbook, because I'm on the yearbook staff, and tell what our school's about.
I'm Richard Sullivan, reporting at the University of Southern Mississippi for MSPA Day.
Thanks for listening to Southern Miss Today on Southern Miss Radio. Thanks to our audio engineer, Ashante, and our video producer, Michaela, for keeping this bird flying. Big shout out to our assistant producers, Shylin and Huey, executive producer, Miss Whitney, program director, Shania, and our general manager, Dr. Martin. That wraps up our show for Southern Miss Today. Thank you for tuning in, and remember, soar high to the sky and fly, eagle, fly. I'm your host, Dundra Bird, signing off for now.
Yeah, there was no Ashanta engineering today. It was me. So, me and Willie Green, by the way.